Hello everyone, welcome back to Isadora. Hope you're all having a great week. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about gaslighting, and gaslighting is a colloquialism. Yeah, it's a system used to make somebody question their own reality. So today I'm doing something quite different. I'm going to be telling a story. Yep. So it's going to be totally different today. I want to explain gaslighting through a story. I think it's a better way of actually explaining it. So here we go. I like telling stories. Like when I was back in high school, right? I used to be the girl that I would watch during the holidays. I would watch movies, right? And then go back to school. It was a boarding school, so I would go back to school and sit people down and then narrate the movie. And honestly, it would be like they're actually watching the movie. Like seriously, it was that great. I don't know if I still have that talent anymore, but I'm gonna try it. So anyway, but I'm not talking about a movie. It's just a story. So it's not a movie, it's just a story. So here goes it. Okay, so so there is this couple, Jane and John Doe, or actually John and Jane Doe, because first of all I'm going to be talking about John. So John Doe is he's an amazing man, and what you would call the perfect man, actually. So yeah, so he's what you call a perfect man. He's great. He's an investment banker. He's amazing. He's somebody of very high vibrations. He looks out for his community, for people in his community. He's very hands-on within the community. He's a great man, and he's very well to do. Like I said, he's an investment banker, and he's a very top person in investment banking, so he earns quite a lot of money. He's of very high vibration. He's a good person. He has a beautiful soul. He's a great man, you know, the sort every woman's dream, so to speak. I mean, he doesn't have much of a social life, so maybe not every woman's dream. He's a bit on the reserved side, you know, so he's a bit reserved, and he's great. And he has this partner. On the other hand, his partner Jane, beautiful woman. She's more of the outgoing type. She's a realtor. She sells properties. She's the outgoing type. So she's great. I mean, their love story, are they married? I mean, they're partners, so it doesn't really matter. That's his partner. That's his life partner anyway. So their love story is a beautiful one. It's amazing. They look out for each other. They deeply love each other. They, you know, they seem to merge together quite well. Do you understand? Or mesh together quite well, let me put it that way, because he's the reserved type, you know. He's very reserved. He's homebody. Jane, on the other hand, is the outgoing type. She likes to go out. She likes to party with her friends. Not party in that way, but you know, she likes to hang out. She likes to eat out. He likes home cooked meals. She likes to eat in restaurant. But they found a beautiful compromise. Somehow it just, they work together quite well. So during the week, they both go to their places of work separately. And then on Fridays, their weekends are so beautiful. So on Fridays, John will pick up Jane from work, and they would go out to a restaurant of her choice. Jane would have picked out the restaurant during the week. Like I said, John is a bit of a homebody, so he's not really up to date with restaurants and all that, you know. So she does all the picking out the restaurants and everything. So yeah, so he would pick her up from work. They would go out to dinner. They would have a beautiful candlelit dinner and everything. He would have made reservations during the day. Obviously, she would have picked out the restaurant early in the day or during the week. And then on Saturdays, Saturday mornings, he will help her do the laundry. Then they'll go and do his own thing. I mean, the compromise is on Friday nights, they do Jane's thing, so they'll probably have dinner, sometimes go out dancing or whatever it is. Then on Saturday, they go food shopping, obviously, because he likes home cooked meals and everything, so he helps her with laundry and everything. They go out together, they go food shopping, they go shopping for clothes or whatever it is sometimes, and sometimes he just likes to see her in beautiful clothes, you know. So yeah, so they will go out shopping and everything, and so that was their Saturday. And then on Sundays, blimey, Sunday mornings they would do their own things. Sometimes John would go out and play football with his friends. Jane would go out to have breakfast with her friends. So I mean, it was great. They had, but Sunday evenings was they made time for family and friends. So Sunday evening they would make a whole lot of buffet, a whole lot of food, and friends would come over and they would laugh, they would play games, they would watch movies, they would banter, they would have serious conversations as well about their lives. I mean, the single ones would end up meeting other single people and they would all hang out, and it was fun. It was great. So their home, their love life was something of a great example for everybody. I mean, everybody around them, their friends, everybody wanted to be like them, So their love story was beautiful. And yeah, so their house was the go-to place on Sunday evening. So I mean, they loved each other like that. So anyway, so this was their lives. I mean, it worked. It worked for the both of them. They both seemed to understand each other. Sometimes Jane, being a realtor, she would have dinner with friends during the week, and she would come back home late, which is part of the nature of her job. Obviously, she had to network, so sometimes she'll be back home 9 p.m. after work. John, on the other hand, was at home by 6:30. It was like clockwork. Once he was out of work by 5:30, he was at home by 6:30 at the latest. So they made it work for them. Anyway, long story short, they lived their lives. So John, being a homebody, on Monday night started to watch the series on TV. I mean, normally his routine would be they would both go to bed. Now John would charge his phone in the room because he lives a quiet life. He hardly ever receives calls, except from family and friends, obviously. Jane, on the other hand, her phone keeps on going off. She's a realtor, she sells property, so sometimes she has all the agents calling her and everything. So Jane would charge her phone in the living room and everything, and John would charge his phone in the bedroom. So the routine was that he would wake up every morning by 6. He would be out of the house. He would wake up every morning 5:45. He would be out of the house for 6 a.m. to go to the gym, and he would work out and be back home by 7:45. Sorry, house 7, to be out of the house for 8 o'clock to get to work. So I mean, that was the normal routine. But he had started watching this series on TV. You know how those series can be, they can keep you up all night, right? Anyway, so well, I'm a fan of series, so it keeps me up all night, especially when it's interesting. I would give up sleep to watch them. So anyway, so I mean, the first Monday night he had watched it, and it kept him up till about 4 a.m. or whatever, and at some point he slept off. So Jane woke up about 4:30 and realized that John wasn't in bed. So she tiptoed into the living room and saw that he had slept off on the sofa. I mean, it was so cute. So she got a blanket and covered him up and everything. And about don't forget, I mentioned that John would always wake up 5:45 and be out of the house for 6 to go to the gym. So he had slept off. He had overslept, obviously, because he was watching TV till about 4:30. So John had overslept, and then a beep woke him up. So he fondled around the room for his phone, like wondering who would call him so early or whatever it is. Like I said, his phone hardly ever goes off. And then he woke up with a start and realized he was actually in the living room, right? So he got up, and he was still kind of fondling around, obviously, because he woke up with a start from sleep. His alarm would have gone off, but his phone was in the room. So anyway, or maybe he actually forgot to set his alarm. Bear with me, this stories. So anyway, so he fondled around the living room, and eventually he realized the beep was on Jane's phone. Don't forget, Jane charges her phone in the living room because her phone always goes off because of the nature of her job. So he picks up the phone and he looks at it, and he saw there was a text message on it. He looked at the number. He didn't really recognize the number. So I mean, Jane's job, so many random number calls her. So, but the number wasn't saved. It was just the number, and the message read, "The Tavern, 7 p.m." It didn't mean anything to John, so he looked at it and he dropped the phone, and he went about his day. So he rushed up to the gym. Obviously, he was already late. Rather than get an hour and a half, he just got like an hour's workout and he was back home to get back to work. So the week goes like that, and they had a wonderful week. And Jane was trying to sell a property, so she had people bidding for it. So she, fingers crossed. I mean, she was a bit anxious about that all week. So I mean, anyway. So the following week, he stayed up in the living room to watch TV, to watch this same series. At this point, obviously, he was all ready, except he forgot his phone again on charger. He forgot it in his room again. So at this point, he was all ready. So he had his blankets and everything, and he watched the series till about 4 a.m. and slept off again. And at 6:15, again, like the first time, oh sorry, I don't know if I mentioned the time the first time, but it was 6:15. The beep went off. So at 6:15, the same time, the beep went off again, and he woke up with a start. Oh, this time around he remembered he was actually in the living room. So he got up and wondered, oh okay, he had overslept again. So he got up and he started to fondle around the living room, and then he found Jane's phone, and he saw the same message from probably the same number. Obviously he didn't remember the number from the week before. So this time around he looked at the number, and the message read, "The Tavern, 7 p.m. Okay, it was a bit odd. I mean, you know, Jane was an outgoing person. She would go and have drinks at different places, but it was just odd. It was the same time and it was the same message. So I mean, he looked at it, he dropped the phone and he went about his day. But there was just a bit of a niggly feeling at the back of his mind, like, okay, that's a bit odd, this same message. Anyway, by lunchtime he had spoken to Jane and they had laughed about one thing or the other, and they had forgotten about it. And the week went like that, and it was beautiful as usual. And then the following Monday, third time's a charm, right? The same thing happened. Well, he wanted to stay in the living room with his phone, but as usual, he started to watch the series and he got carried away and he slept off around about 4. And at 6:15, the phone beeped. So this time he got up and went straight for Jane's phone, and he saw the same message. "The Tavern, 7 p.m. Oh, this time he recognized the number. It was the same number. So he looked at it. It was odd. At this time around, he wanted to ask Jane, but there was just something about this message that got him really curious. I mean, their love story, like I said, is really beautiful. They've never had any reason to question each other. So there was really nothing to question. It was just the messages were a bit odd. It was the same message and it was 3 weeks in a row. So he tried to forget about it. He went to work, tried to go on about his day, but he couldn't get this message off his mind. He couldn't. It was just something about the same message 3 weeks in a row. So at 5:30, he left work and he had Googled the tavern, and he had headed straight for the tavern. So he got there and he sat in the parking lot. He didn't know what he was expecting to see, but it was just odd. I mean, during the day he had asked Jane, like, "Are you going anywhere?" And she goes, "No, I'm at work throughout." And okay, she didn't refer to the message, and he was just curious. So he sat there, and then after a while he started to think, oh, like, seriously, there's never really been anything to question in their relationship. It's been perfect. It's been smooth sailing. So why was he there? Why wouldn't he just ask Jane? Why was he so curious about the message? What was it about that message, you know, that got him so wrapped up? He couldn't get it off his mind. So he thought to himself, I mean, he's not going to be the beginning. He's not going to introduce distrust in their relationship. So he was about to start off the car and drive off. From afar, he saw this woman. I mean, he had woken up late that morning, and that message bothered him so much that he didn't go to the gym that morning. So he was there when Jane got all dressed up for work, and she had on this beautiful pinstripe pantsuit. Oh, it was nice. It fitted her figure so much. Oh my god, he was a bit jealous actually that morning when she got dressed to go to work. She had done that beautiful, it was a pantsuit, and it was so beautiful. It was pinstriped. But this woman, she was far away, but she got out of the car and she She had this purple silk dress on. I mean, it wasn't a daytime dress, it was like an evening dress. It was a plunging neckline, a really low neckline. It was backless, it was beautiful, it was silk, and it was purple. And she got out of the car, and she had dark hair. I mean, Jane always pinned up her hair in a chignon. She never really let down her hair, so her hair was always like pinned up in a chignon. Nothing like mine. I mean, hers was pulled back in a chignon. So anyway, so this woman had her hair cascading down her shoulders. It was beautiful, beautiful, lush, dark hair. And she got out of the car. She was really far away. But there was something about this woman. I mean, it wasn't the same outfit Jane wore in the morning. Jane always pins up her hair in a chignon. But it was Jane's figure. I mean, he loved Jane. He knew Jane. He knows what Jane looks like. But she looked so much like Jane. I mean, he couldn't see her face, but her figure, her mannerisms. So she stepped out and met this man that greeted her as she stepped out of the car. She looked up at him and gave him a kiss. And they both walked hand in hand away, right into the tavern. And John was confused. Because, first of all, I mean, Jane had on very different clothes in the morning when she left the house for work. But this woman has stepped out in something that looked like a taxi, in different clothes. And she had her hair down. Black, beautiful hair cascading down her shoulders. Jane had almost the same length of hair, but John couldn't tell anymore because she never lets her hair down. She never does. She likes to pin up her hair, no, she knew, like I said earlier. So he stood there. And as he considered walking in after them, just to make sure if it was Jane, he got a call from Jane. And she says, "Oh, hello, darling." And he felt so guilty. He felt horrible for not trusting Jane, for even being at the tavern. He felt horrible. Why didn't he just ask Jane about the message? Why did he have to go all the way to the tavern? So he felt really guilty, and he said, "Oh, how are you? I'm fine. Are you still at work?" And she goes, "Yes, I'm at work. But I'm going to be having drinks with Cheryl, my friend, my colleague at work." And he goes, "Where are you two meeting up?" She goes, "Her office. We're not leaving work. We're just going to be having wine." "Oh, guess what? The deal went through. I sold the property and we're going to finally redecorate the house. Great news. We need to celebrate." She sounded really excited, really happy. And John felt like shit. He felt so terrible. Like, why on earth did I have to distrust her? Why did I come here? So she goes, "Oh, where are you, darling?" And he goes, "Oh, just about to leave work." Now, don't forget, this was about 6:30. Normally, like clockwork, he would have been home. So she was a bit surprised, like, "Oh, you left work late today?" And he said, "Well, I had 1 or 2 things to take care of, but I'll be home soon." So he hurriedly got into his car, feeling so guilty, and he drove off. But there was something about that woman in the purple dress. She looked exactly like Jane. It was the same height, same hair color, same body, same figure, everything. Except Jane said she was at work and he had no reason to question it. Besides, she left home in the morning in a pantsuit. Anyway, so Jane got home. And he tried to celebrate. They had wine and she was screaming and happy and jumped right into his arms because it was a major sale. It was a major breakthrough. She was excited. And he tried. He wanted to be excited, but he couldn't get that woman off his mind. That woman, that dress, that man, that kiss, that figure. It was all he could think about. So, anyway. So Jane asked him, "Are you alright?" And he goes, yes, I'm absolutely fine." He wanted to ask Jane, but he didn't even know how, because as excited and as great as everything was, something bothered him. And he didn't know what. So anyway, he said to Jane, "How about, in the spirit of celebration, you let down your hair for me?" And she goes, oh no, God, no. You know how much I hate to let down my hair. So she went in closer to him. Oh, and leaned in really close to him. Looked up into his eyes and gave him a kiss. And said to him, maybe one of these days, I'll get up dressed up and let down my hair for you. Ugh, he wanted to throw up. It was something about what she said. Because it was the same way she leaned in. The lady had leaned into the man to kiss him. And then she talked about getting all dressed up and letting down her hair. So, oh, he felt sick. And so he just said to her, I've got to go to bed. So anyway, they both went to bed. They retired off to bed. And as Jane slept, John couldn't. He didn't know why. He just couldn't go to sleep. He couldn't get that image off his head. But he felt more guilty that he didn't trust Jane. And I don't know which one was worse. The image he had seen earlier, the woman in the purple dress, or the fact that he didn't trust Jane. Well, eventually, he dozed off. And he woke up from sleep with a start. He was sweating. Because all he could see in his dreams was the woman in the purple dress. Anyway, so he woke up around 5. And then he walked off to the kitchen and thought to himself, you know what? I'm not going to keep doing this to myself. I do trust Jane. But I'm going to ask about the text messages. I mean, because it was a bit odd, and obviously it bothered him. And they should be able to talk about anything at all in a relationship, right? They've always talked about everything. So why was this different? So he made a breakfast. He decided he wasn't going to go to the gym. He made a breakfast and he wanted them to talk. So he brought her breakfast in bed. And then he rubbed her feet. Oh, she was so excited. That's so cute. And she's like, oh, what did I do this morning to deserve this? Oh my goodness, this is so cute. And he said, no, he just wanted to talk and watch her eat breakfast. So as she scoffed down her eggs and bacon, he asked her. And he was like, well, what is it about those text messages and the tavern? And she stared at him blankly like, I don't understand. What messages? Oh, and he goes on, the text messages that come onto your phone at 6:15 every morning. Like every Tuesday morning. Basically. Every Tuesday morning. And he says 7 p.m. the tavern. What's it about the tavern and those text messages? And she said, I don't understand. What messages? He goes, the ones that come onto your phone Tuesday morning. It's been happening for the last 3 weeks. And she gets up, walks right into the living room and picks up her phone. So John was there, seated there. And then she came back and said, this is my phone, what messages? And he goes, the messages, the tavern. And she's like, I've never been to the tavern. I don't know anything about the tavern. Okay, that was odd. And John said to her, stop playing with me. I see those messages on your phone every Tuesday morning at the same time. And she's like, doesn't that sound odd to you that I would get the same messages every Tuesday morning? What sense does that even make? And John, for a second, okay, was it the series? Or he wasn't hallucinating. He saw those messages 3 weeks in a row. And he started to get really angry. Like, Jane, don't lie to me. I've never lied to me before. Why will this be different? And she goes, are you feeling okay? Are you okay, John? Because I've never really received any text messages. Here's my phone. You can go through my phone. I don't understand what you're talking about. And he was getting pissed off. You can't say that to me. I saw those messages. Anyway, long story short, she walks out and she says to him, look, I've got to get to work. I don't know what you're talking about. I just signed a deal yesterday. I noticed you're a bit off. I don't know what's going on. And he could not stop shouting about it. I saw it on your phone, the messages. And she goes, wait, hang on. Have you been checking through my phone? Oh, are you saying that you don't trust me anymore? John, are you having an affair? And John goes, what affair? I'm telling you, I saw text messages on your phone. And she goes, why won't you trust me? Why are you going through my phone? Why? Except you're having an affair. Why are you accusing me? What are you accusing me of? You know what? I can't do this anymore. I've got to go to work. So she storms out and goes to work. And John was left bewildered. Like, what just happened? He couldn't go to the gym. He was so troubled he couldn't go to work. So he sat at home. And after she left, he opened a bottle of brandy and poured himself brandy. He's not a drinker. But he needed to clear his head because something had happened. It wasn't the series. He had seen those messages. Why would Jane say it never happened? He saw those messages. So he poured himself brandy and he had the first 2 shots. After that, he had more shots. And then he had more shots. And he just sat in the living room, confused. Like, he had never distrusted Jane. Why on earth? And then they remember the woman in the purple dress. That couldn't have been Jane. He wouldn't even stoop so low as to go through her clothes. That wasn't Jane. It couldn't have been. Because she called him. She called him. But that was right after they disappeared into the building. Anyway. So Jane got to work and called John's friend, Andrew. And then said to Andrew, listen, I'm a bit worried. It's John. I don't know. He's been a bit off lately. But something happened and I'm a bit confused about it. And Andrew goes, oh, yeah, so what happened? Blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I mean, this morning he's talking about some text messages that never, he's seen things. I don't get it. He's seen things, but I really want you to check on him because I'm worried about him. He's either hallucinating or something. I don't know what's really going on, but you're his friend and he trusts you. So I would really appreciate if you can check on him. I'm worried about him. And Andrew goes, oh, say no more. That's really, really unlike John. Very unlike him. Okay, say no more. I'll do that. And she goes, please don't let him know I called you. Just kind of check on him like you're just doing it. You know, it's a random check. And he goes, okay. So Andrew gets off the phone and calls 3 other friends and told them about it. So Andrew called John. Said, hey, buddy, how you doing? And John goes, yeah, I'm fine. And don't forget I said he wasn't a drinker. So he was babbling and just talking and talking and talking. And Andrew said, well, you don't sound okay. You all right? And he goes, yeah, I had a drink. Andrew said, hold up. You don't drink? And he goes, yeah, I know, but I was just bothered. And Andrew says, okay, so I'll be at yours in a few. So Andrew goes over to his house and like it was just a random check. He never mentioned to him that Jane had called him. Well, he didn't mind that Andrew came over. He needed the company anyway because he just needed to stop thinking about what had happened that day. So Andrew was sat there and they were having a conversation. A few minutes later, another friend comes in. Oh, well, why are you here? Oh, well, I checked you up at work and they said you were not at work, so I thought to check you at home. Well, he didn't mind. He needed the company. The more the merrier, right? A few hours later, another friend stopped by and he goes, okay, this is a bit odd. Why are you all stopping by today of all days? I'm usually at work at this time. Why would you come to my house? Oh, well, I got a text message from so earlier in the day and they had said they're at your house, so we decided to come over. But one thing he's noticed was they doted on him a bit more than usual. And every time he said something, they would exchange looks among themselves. So he knew something was wrong. But Jane would not do that to him. She would not call his friends. No, she wouldn't. Anyway, they had a great time and they laughed. And talked about other things. So by evening, he was feeling a bit better. And then he got a call from work, from his boss at work. And they said, hey, well, you called in sick today. Well, it's very unlike you. And he goes, yeah, I was just feeling a bit tired this morning. I felt a bit sick, so I thought to rest for the day. And the boss says to him, how about you take some time out and you rest a bit more properly? You've been very hardworking. We would rather you're at home for a bit and you rest a bit more. And he goes, no, I'm fine. I can go back to work. And the boss says, no. you should stay back at home. And he said to his boss, is this a paid leave? Because I didn't take any leave and I'm fine to get back to work. And his boss says, no, I'm putting you on rest. I think you should rest for a bit. That was odd. His boss sounded like there was something wrong with him. That was really odd. Anyway, who's the abuser? I'll get back to you in a second. Gaslighting is a form of manipulation used that occurs in abusive relationships, right? So this is where the abuser misleads the target to question their own reality. You know, so the victim, normally what happens with people that experience gaslighting is that you start to question your own perceptions. You start to question what you have seen. You start to question what you've heard. You start to question your memory. After a while, you might actually feel like you're losing your sanity. That's the whole point of gaslighting. This type of manipulation is used by people with a disorder, with a mental disorder called NPD. That's narcissistic personality disorder. It's actually a disorder. Narcissism is a disorder, but they're the ones that normally uses this type of manipulation against people. So what are the tactics of gaslighting, or someone gaslighting you might use, and how do you know you're being gaslighted or gaslit? I'm not sure. Gaslighted. How do you know you're being gaslighted? Okay, so one of the things to look out for is they'll be lying to you. First of all, people that gaslight, well, narcissists basically in general, are pathological liars. Do you understand? That is the first form of gaslighting. So even when you have evidence and you have proof, they won't back down from their lies. They will still continuously lie to you. You can show them proof. I mean, that's the whole point of gaslighting. Evidence, light it up and burn it up. So basically they will constantly deny it. Then after a while you start to question, like, okay, am I the one that is wrong, or did that, maybe I didn't see well, because this person seems so serious, this person seems like maybe they didn't do anything wrong. So they'll continuously argue with you. They are pathological liars. They don't back down on their lies. Basically they just keep on lying. Even when you have evidence, they will keep lying to you. Some of the phrases you would hear is, that never happened, you're making things up, now you're cooking up stories against me, you're crazy. The ultimate narcissistic phrase, you're crazy. Another way to know if you're being gaslighted is these people will discredit you. And how does this work? So what happens is they will run to other people and tell other people, oh, and gossip about you and lie about you to other people. For instance, they will pretend to be worried about you. If you go back to the story, right, they'll pretend to be worried about you, like, oh, I think this person's hallucinating, I think this person is going crazy, I'm a bit worried, oh, I really love this person, so I'm really worried about them, da, 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 da. Or another thing they would do is come and say to you that, oh, you know, lately you've been acting really crazy. Even your friend Beatrice or your friend Andrew thinks so. Your friend thinks so as well. Your friend said, these people might have never said anything about you, but they will make you seem like other people are talking about you as well. So you start to think there's something actually wrong with you, that they distract you. And how do they do this? So once you're facing them with evidence, then they avoid that question and then they answer a question with a question. Like, for instance, if you remember with Jane and John, when he was asking about the text messages, she said, oh, are you actually, did you go through my phone? Did you actually go through my phone? So they changed the subject, so to speak. They kind of change the subject, and do you understand? They start to talk about something else. So they're answering a question with a question. They would avoid what you're asking them, and they start to ask you another question, like, oh, so are you actually having an affair? Like, are you saying, do you understand? They would kind of change the entire topic, do you understand, and distract you. So it throws you off from, it changes the subject of the argument, basically. These people minimize your thoughts and feelings. Like, they will do something really hurtful and they'll tell you, calm down, why are you overreacting, oh my god, why are you so sensitive? This is like over something you may have told them over and over and over and over again that you don't like. So they will intentionally do it and do it in front of people. They're, why are you so sensitive, why are you overreacting? So I mean, you know, when people constantly, you know, don't acknowledge your feelings, sometimes it's a bit isolating. Sometimes you're just quite like, you know what, I can't even say it. What's the point? The abuser shifts the blame. So basically, when you're saying this person has done something, I caught you somewhere, but They can say to you, well, you know, you've been behaving badly lately, you've been coming back lately, you've come back late from work every day, I thought you were having an affair, that's why I went to meet up with my male friend. So when you caught me, you actually just caught me with my male friend because I was trying to discuss the things you had been doing to me. So if you hadn't done that to me, I would not have actually done this to you. So they keep shifting the blame to the extent that you start to think maybe you're actually the cause of their bad behavior. So another way to know if you're being gaslighted is the abuser will deny any wrongdoing. They do not take account for anything. They lack accountability. So even when you're saying to them, this is what you've done, this is what you've done, they will deny it they will deny it flat. They'll never apologize. Apology has nothing, it's not in their dictionary. They will never apologize. Rather, they will deny any form of wrongdoing. Oh, I didn't do that. Oh, if you caused it, it's your fault. It's always the other person's fault. They never apologize. They never acknowledge their wrongdoing. It makes you feel a bit unseen, a bit unheard. Do you understand? Like, after a while, you just give up. You're tired of it. Do you understand? It causes emotional distress. It's emotional abuse. So if you take account of everything I've talked about and you know you're being gaslighted, another thing a gaslighter or a narcissist or an emotionally abusive person will do is use kind words as weapons. But you know I love you so much, I will never hurt you, I will never do that to you intentionally because I love you so much. They claim to be the ones to love you, meanwhile in the background they're the ones actually destroying you. Do you understand? But they always use those kind words as weapon. I love you too much to hurt you. Oh my god, I would never do that to you. I love you too much. So if you're not sure if you're being gaslighted in a relationship, just think about how you feel really, because most of the time you have to go with your feelings as opposed to what you can actually say, what you can touch. I don't know. You have to go with your feelings. So how do you feel? So let me go through this signs, right? So if you doubt your feelings, and your reality, if you're constantly wondering like, I saw that, didn't I? Like John did. Do you understand? He saw the text messages. He knew he saw the text messages, but somehow Jane was making him feel like, you know, he was hallucinating. So if you start to doubt your own reality, you're probably being gaslighted. If you question your own judgment, you know, it's pretty much the same thing. Like if you question your judgment, like, oh, you know what, I know what I saw, but you start to question your judgment, you understand, you're probably being gaslighted. If you start to feel a bit insecure, like, you know, this person makes you feel insecure because you don't even know what it is with them, do you understand, you're probably being gaslighted. If you feel alone because you don't know who else to explain it to. This person seems perfect to the world, but to you, you know there's something wrong, you know they're doing something, but you can't really put a finger on it. So you kind of feel alone. Do you understand? You don't know who else to talk to about it because they probably won't believe you anyway. You're probably being gaslighted. So if you start to wonder what people say you are, do you understand, what the abuser says you are? Because trust me, like I always say, when a narcissist accuses you of something, is what they're doing. So this person will probably say, oh, you're a liar, you're always telling lies on me, you're always cooking up stories against me. That's a lie. That's what they're doing. Do you understand? So yeah, so you start to wonder like, oh, am I really such a bad person? Like, do you understand? You start to wonder. If you feel confused, like if they just leave you in a confused state all the time, you know what you saw, you know what you're telling them, but they confuse it, they scatter the whole story, they shift the blame back on you. Do you understand? So if you're constantly feeling confused and you with someone, you're probably being gaslighted. If you worry if you're too sensitive, I mean, this is a way of silencing you. Do you understand? They keep doing things and they tell you, oh, you're so sensitive. So when they do something, you don't want to confront them or accuse them about it because obviously you feel like, oh, maybe I'm being too sensitive about it. Maybe I'm a sensitive person. Let me let it slide. So you tend to let everything slide. So so if you spend a lot of time apologizing for what you didn't do wrong, obviously because they always shift the blame. I'm talking really fast because of my time, I'm sorry. So so if you spend a lot of time apologizing for what you didn't even do, so okay, you know what, let's let it slide. I'm sorry that happened, I'm sorry, you know it's not your fault, deep down, you know, but because they shift the blame and make you feel like it's all your fault all the time, so you tend to apologize for things you didn't even do. So you find yourself apologizing all the time. You're probably being gaslighted. So or you start to second guess yourself, like, which is the same thing, like, okay, you start to second guess yourself, like, okay, maybe I'm saying things, maybe, you know, there's something wrong with me, maybe, do you understand? You are definitely being gaslighted. So when you start to assume other people are disappointed in you as well, do you understand? Because, you know, they will come to you and say, oh, this person thinks so as well, oh, I think you're such a this and such a that. Everybody is saying the same thing. Nobody said it. They just want you to feel the whole world is against you, basically. So you're probably being gaslighted. So then you start to wonder what's wrong with you. Do you understand? Like, why me? What's wrong with me? Do you understand what's going on with me? You're probably being gaslighted. So when you notice these things, the best thing to do, if it's a relationship, it's a friendship, whatever it is, first of all, distance yourself. Keep your distance from these people. Cut them off if you can. Do you understand? Keep your distance from these people for your own sanity, because what gaslighting does is literally make you go crazy. That's not a joke. I always tell you, that's the aim of a narcissist. They want you to probably go so crazy that you commit suicide. That's the aim. Do you understand? So basically, distance yourself from them. Do you understand? If you can, save evidence every time you can. When you see something, save the evidence, because they will deny it, except you have like a recording or whatever it is. When you're talking to them, make sure you record it. Do you understand? Because they will deny everything. They will never take account for their wrongdoing. They will deny every single thing they've done wrong. If you can, set boundaries. If it's like friendship, cut them off. If it's a relationship, set boundaries and let the person know this is what is acceptable to you in the relationship. If it's possible, end that relationship. It's not worth it. Nothing beats your mental health. Nothing beats your sanity. Nothing on this earth beats your happiness. So I do love you all. It's become a very long video now. Stay blessed. I love you. Have a beautiful week. Namaste. Peace.